Okay guys, we are finally back. I'm dedicating today to be the last day we are welding on the mini gooseneck here. I'm sick of bringing this welder back and forth from the restaurant and having to drag it out here without having my welding cart. But we got my extension cord today, so that's good. That means we're actually gonna be able to reach. And basically the plan is, I'm gonna cut another piece of 1.5" square stock here. We're gonna run that in the front, as well as one in the rear. That way when our planks come over top right here, we'll have somewhere to screw in the front side. It was something I kind of didn't fully think about when I built this thing. Granted, the front one wouldn't have been able to go on anyway because that's where we tied in the actual neck part of the gooseneck. So we'll do one of those front and rear. I'll probably end up putting just one more support up front here. I was gonna plate this whole thing, but there's like some weird compound angles going on that I don't think would be fun to plate. So I might just do one more brace across right there, something small. I think this thing's already plenty strong enough. And thankfully, I have just enough of a stick here of 1.5" by 1.5". I think I got just enough. Looks like it's gonna work. Let's see. What is our dimensions back here? We are 55. As long as we got 110, we are golden. We are 55. Square our cut up because we are not gonna be using the cold cut saw. Because that is on hiatus from the shop right now to build the restaurant. So we're gonna be using the trusty bandsaw, which when I'm using the bandsaw, I like to mark at least 2 sides, and usually the top and then the front there, because as you're cutting down, this line's easy to line up, but there's a chance you can start to like cut that way, and all of a sudden you got a weird miter cut there. We don't want that. So now we have 2 lines that we can watch. Now the one thing I will say, I'm a giant Milwaukee tool fan. You guys know this. I'm also a giant fan of when they started putting lights on tools instead of lasers to tell you where the blade is, because with a laser, it's like a firearm sight. Like you have to sight it in, and if it gets off, you're never gonna be accurate. A light, even if that blade's a little kinked, you're gonna be able to see where that kink is and you'll know your cut's gonna be accurate. Well, they put a light on the bandsaw here, which shines at the blade, but I've never seen this thing to be accurate. And if anything, you can kind of see that shadow right there. Hopefully it shows up on camera. It kind of gets in the way and it kind of gets dark in there, even when it's lit up, that I feel like I don't like it on this tool. Like I'd almost rather just tape that off and look at the blade, because that shadow's pretty thick and sometimes it screws with you. All right, so we've got our back piece. It's gonna sit just like that. I'm gonna keep it off the back just a hair because obviously we've got the welds in the corner as well as the welds on this C-channel that we put down there. So we can't really get it perfectly tight, but we'll keep it off about 1/4 inch. We should be good to go. Now, for those of you that have been keeping track, I bought this welder, no, I guess I probably should have kept better track. I don't know how many months ago, and this is the first time I've ever really MIG welded in my life. And you guys have basically seen the start of my MIG welding journey to now, and I think it's safe to say, let's start at some of the first welds you saw on the trailer here. You know, I mean, granted, a lot of these were like late at night and the welder barely reached, but I'm not gonna make any excuses for that looking as bad as it does. And I think we're significantly getting better considering, you know, that's what the welds are starting to look like now. Slowly but surely, practice makes perfect. And one of the things you'll probably hear me and Dave say time and time again is get paid to learn. So you see the restaurant project that we're doing, and I'm actually building all of the steel windows there and welding on site. I'm getting paid to learn to become a proficient welder, and clearly you can see my welds are getting better and better and better. And I'm assuming by the time this window project's done, I'm gonna be pretty proud of my weld. So we've got the last front and rear pieces welded in here. Now we gotta go ahead and cap the openings of the 2x4 square stock. Now, if I had 2-inch flat bar around, that would be ideal, but I don't, and I don't wanna buy a 20-foot long stick of 2-inch flat bar for 8 inches. But I do have some 2x2 square stock, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the bandsaw down the edge here on both sides, and I'm gonna basically turn this into flat bar, which will work out just perfect to cap those 2 pieces. All right, let's give this a shot. See if we can pull this off. Oh no, it worked, but we're trapped inside. Sometimes the really thin kerf on the saw blade is great. Sometimes it's too thin. There we go. All right, let's do the other side. It's gonna be hot, but we got us, oh, that's really hot. 1 cap piece there. Come on, bugger. Get it out of there. There we go. Served on a platter-ish. Now we're gonna rotate it and cut one more. Man, I love this bandsaw. Go buy you guys one if you don't have one. Imagine doing that with a cutout disc and a grinder, getting splattered with sparks. I noticed a couple comments recently on the restaurant project that we're doing, and everybody's like, man, are you welding in, you know, canvas shoes and shorts? And yeah, because I'm not out there with like cutout disc and doing all kinds of crap that's like super uncomfortable on your skin. And I'm very comfortable while I'm out working. I've got it clamped up here. We're gonna go around, weld it. We're gonna grind those axes smooth. I don't know how crazy I'm gonna get with grinding this thing. If you've ever seen an actual manufactured trailer, they don't look that pretty. So we'll see how much time I want to put in. I did just get word Fernando is coming back, and we're gonna properly weld on his scissor jacks tonight. So we got so much time here to work on my own stuff. I was using the grinder right now though, and I nicked my Hey Dude here. And I gotta say, this is about the most damage they've ever sustained. We actually took out some of the stitching. I'm a little worried about the work dudes. I hope they can last. I hope they can last. But I'm kind of nervous that we took out some stitching there. Pray for my work dudes, guys. Pray for my work dudes. Like that, we've got both sides capped here. Now they're not perfect. There's a little bit of deflection you're gonna see in there because I'm not gonna spend the time to make that look 100% completely flat. The pieces didn't made up exactly perfectly, and I don't want to spend like 3 hours here welding, filling, welding, grinding, welding, filling. So that's good enough for a trailer that's gonna be living on my ranch. Now, we do have a Fernando that has shown up, so let's move the whole welding setup to the back of the shop here and actually weld his trailer jacks on properly this time. And it looks like we got a dead body rolled up in a mattress here. That's gross. That's gross. What are y'all doing on your beds that you got a big old poop stain? I don't even want to get near this thing. Why is it in front of my door? Alrighty guys, we are in place here. Doing a little welds. Hold on, Fern. Let me see. Trailer's not level, buddy. Trailer's not level. I like how we're relying on that being level to make like
what's the nose?
40-foot trailer. That's gonna tell us if it's level. Cut the power to the trailer frame. We gotta cut power. We don't want to fry your circuit board. If I remember how we said it's never easy.
We'll see that.
The little welding tip must have like backed its way out over the last couple of days of using it and driving with it. And I just pulled the trigger right now and I like pushed this whole thing out, arced to the trailer, but I think it like arced the welding rod inside of that. So we're gonna have to, yeah, we're gonna have to get that wire out. That's gonna be fun.
Only one, is it?
I don't know. I don't know if I have any spare tips. Stop bringing your trailer around here, man. Bad stuff happens. Okay guys, so we are in a standstill here. Could not get that little piece of wire out of that tip there. She's just welded in there, and fortunately when you're doing stuff after hours like we typically do, all the welding supply places are closed. And we checked Home Depot. They have tips for Lincolns, which some people say are universal. Some people say only work on Lincoln, like the Home Depot model of Lincoln. Then the other problem is they're for 035 wire. We're running 030. So it's gonna be a little slop in there if it works, but Chris is supposed to be bringing us some 035 Lincoln tips. We're gonna see if they're gonna work in the miller. In the meantime though, well, you know, we got some time, so I'm gonna cut our last little bits of pieces here that we're gonna be putting on the trailer. I gotta cut a little circle to sit on top there so we can seal the top of the actual coupler. That way water doesn't get in there and rust that thing out. I'm probably gonna just make a cross brace right here instead of plating this whole thing. These things don't line up perfectly with each other. Plus I don't wanna sit here and cut like 3/16 plate right now without my face shield. Now we're gonna use our 4 1/4 hole saw, which is what we used to drill through the bed to actually mount the ball. This is significantly smaller. That's 4 1/2. So I was thinking like 4 1/4. That means we're an 1/8 less on each side or all the way around, which is perfect. That's enough room for a weld. But then I forgot about the kerf, the width of the teeth there. So that 4 1/4 is to the outside of that. We're gonna actually be using the center core there. So we'll see if this is big enough and it doesn't just fall in. I think we'll be all right though. Worn out hole saw was not the business. That bad boy is done after going through the truck bed. So at least it marked us a circle. We're gonna use the old bandsaw. We're gonna cut a square out here. We're gonna take the bandsaw, clamp it in the vise, and we'll use the bandsaw to cut that circle out. Willing to bet this voids the Milwaukee warranty here. We'll clamp the bandsaw in the vise. I'm ready, buddy. Got a Atsy Bailey 619 late night delivery.
Yep. Late night delivery.
I have no idea if these are gonna work. Okay guys, let's see if this fits. I have no idea if these things are even remotely universal. The internet says mixed reviews, mixed reviews. There goes nothing. I don't know if that's cross-threaded or if I bent it. But I think that's...
It's bent.
But it's threaded enough, maybe? Let's see if the wire will feed through. I mean, the wire feeds through, Fern. That's good enough.
That's all we need.
That's all we need. I don't want to weld it on more than it needs because you're going to rip them off again.
How low they are? Yes.
And I'd rather they get ripped off than like take the trailer with it.
Yeah.
So they're more than welded on enough for what you need. Alrighty, y'all. Well, it took all of like 42 seconds to weld both sides of Fern's trailer, which took us like 4 hours the other night trying to get the trailer close enough because we didn't have the right extension cord. Ah, it's amazing what having the right stuff does, even though we didn't have the, like, we're kind of hokied with the Lincoln tip inside the Miller gun here. You can see it's not exactly in there properly. It's a little off center and not fully seated back in there, but it was good enough. So those things are on there solid. Fern's just gonna end up ripping them off again like he did last time.
That's a true story. So we did some just basic welds.
Yeah, I didn't want to weld them on too solid and he like bends his frame when he rips them off. So we gotta make sure that they can like...
We gotta lift this thing a couple inches.
Okay, Fern's trailer's done. He's out of here for the night. Let's get our little circle piece welded up top there. I'm gonna see how this thing welds. I mean, it like kind of was a little wonky welding with the wrong size tip there. So we'll see. If this ends up looking like garbage, I'm not gonna try and cut and weld this brace on tonight until I get the right tip. Hopefully it welds halfway decent. I just want the welding to be done on this thing. Okay, well, I don't think I got much to complain about there. That actually went pretty well. Welded her all the way around, welded up that center hole. Okay, well, we are all ground smooth there, so we're gonna officially call that portion done. We're jumping back on this tomorrow. I'm tired, going to bed. Okay guys, today's the last day. Saying it now, the last day. We're doing any welding on the trailer here. I've got some genuine Miller welding tips here. We're gonna get the welder all dialed back in instead of using the funky Lincoln tip that didn't really fit in there. It's all kinds of cockeyed. I got us some hardware here that we're gonna use to mount the jack because I totally forgot about that. And since we have the mag drill here today, we're gonna drill the holes so we can mount the jack on the front. Obviously the jack's gonna come off when it goes to powder coat. Let's see if these old Miller tips fit better. And yes guys, these do cause cancer in California. Get on in there. Now it looks like the threads are all chewed up, which I'm assuming is why the other tip came out, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I never pull these out, but I'm also not very gentle on this welder. She has been moved a lot. Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff going on in there. Well guys, I guess it's a good thing those old Lincoln tips are a little bigger and a different thread pattern because it actually like can lock in there somewhat. It looks like all the threads are stripped out on the inside. So the Miller tips definitely aren't gonna work. So we're just gonna wedge that Lincoln one in there. That should be enough for the little bit of welding we have to do to finish this off. So we've got this center brace all welded in other than the underside right there. I'm gonna move the mini truck out of the way. And in order to move the mini truck out of the way, we need the old jack there in place. So using the mag drill, drilling all the way through, and then I'm just gonna nut and bolt this thing on. I'm not sure which way. I might put the bolt in from that side and run the nut and the washer and everything on this side, or vice versa. Either way, the wood decking that's gonna come here is gonna have to get notched a little bit for one bolt on each side. Not that big a deal. It's a detail I probably should have thought through a little further, but not the end of the world.
However though, the mag drill, it's just an amazing piece of equipment here. Making holes like that so easy, going through all that material.
You'd be sitting here with a regular drill forever trying to fight through that. Alrighty, well, mission success here.
We've got the bolts on, everything is tightened down. I contemplated welding the bolt on this side, and then we never have to like two-hand it to actually crank this down, but
I don't think that's necessary. Now we get to actually test it because
we do need to uncouple the truck from the trailer so we can weld up underneath it. So let's disconnect the gooseneck. I believe that's disconnected. And I hope I got enough height out of this thing. I raised it up pretty high when I welded it on here so we never snag it on anything when we're driving off-road. But we might have put it in the range where we need to put like a 2x4 or a 4x4 underneath it to actually get enough height to clear the ball. Going up.
Or we nailed it perfectly.
Still got plenty of room in there. Now the best thing about a mini truck is when you need to move it, you just give her a little yoink there. Oh, we're gonna hit the diagram. All right.
And now we can get up underneath here to weld in our little center support there. Okay guys, well, we all know Ryan never calls it quits when he says he's gonna call it quits. So all the welding's done up there and I'm like, all right, cool, the welding's done. Well, we never made fender flares. And this whole time I'm like, it's not worth the effort. It's not worth the effort. This thing's gonna live at the ranch. It's not gonna get used very often. No point in putting fender flares on here. And then I'm like, well, I have some scrap material lying around. Let's just like poke around at the idea of building fender flares. So
I started kind of building the structure right here, and you can kind of see right there. It was gonna come up like that, come over. I was gonna V down the center there, come over, and then go down.
And then I've got some 1/8" sheet metal over there, or maybe get some diamond plate and plate this thing. And then, well, our hokey welder trick stopped working, and it too arced itself to where the wire is now lodged inside the tip, AKA we are toast on welding. And really the only way we can continue
is we need to buy ourselves a new diffuser, which is this piece that actually has the threads in it, not these old worn out threads.
Now, I don't know how often stuff like this gets burned through. I know it's all called consumables for a reason because, well, you're gonna consume them. I've owned this thing for quite a few months. And if this is a common thing, and I'm assuming it kind of is because they sell stuff like this in packs of 2s, and they sell the tips in packs of 10s. And I've made it this far with not really knowing how to weld, and I haven't been burning through them. I think that's a pretty good accomplishment. But I think at this point I'm gonna quit on the fender flare. I gotta get this thing to powder coat, otherwise it's never gonna get done in between the restaurant and the late nights here. Like, I just want this thing done. We probably could have built some pretty cool fender flares. Not saying we can't build some and bolt them on later, so don't worry for all of you that are like dead set on fender flares. There's always a chance. Haha, just kidding. I can't quit. I can't quit. We're not gonna quit. So I had a 1/4-20 tap. It's actually built some tabs that we're gonna be using at the restaurant, so I brought it home with me here. And albeit this is not a 1/4-20 thread pitch right there, or thread pattern, whatever you call it, it will like cross thread into this, which means it'll stay tight. So I ran the tap through that and rethreaded it. Don't know if that's gonna show up there. And then the little tip kind of goes in, like enough to hopefully get these welds done. So let's see if we can make this work. You go on there, tighten you down, you go on there, and then get tight enough-ish. That's all we're looking for, just tight enough. I don't know guys, that feels pretty tight. We might be back in business. Oh, look at that. All right, we're back guys, we're back. Let's build some fender flares. gotta stop committing to these late night projects because I don't know when to stop once I get going. And I hate to say this might be the like most redneck, hokiest part of the trailer we've built, but I instantly regretted these fenders once I started building them. But let me give you guys a little update here. It is currently just turned 1 o'clock in the morning. Probably gonna stroke out one of these days from just not stopping working. Regardless, being that it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't know any steel suppliers that are open right now. So I'm just gonna keep going here with what I got. And unfortunately that sheet metal that's not big enough to cover one whole fender skirt in one go means there's gonna be a seam. It's ghetto, I don't want the seam, but I gotta get this done to be able to get it to powder coat on time.
So I've gone ahead and just kind of formed her over right there. This piece is going to do the same, and then there'll end up being a seam cut right here in the middle. I've already got a brace in the center. Show you guys right there that we're going to be able to weld it to. Hopefully you can see that.
They actually look pretty sick. I know I'd never planned on there being fenders on this trailer just because freaking pain in the butt. I'll be damned if I'm not gonna invest in a press brake here soon. Like, I just need sheet metal tools. It's one thing I don't have. I need a way to cut sheet metal in long lengths, nice and straight and comfortably instead of running along with the freaking cutoff disc, because I hate that.
But because we don't have that, we're just using the old Burns-O-Matic here and slowly heating and bending.
Well, yo, I finally think I've hit that wall here where it's time just to call it quits. It's 2 a.m.
We got us a fender here. I don't know if stitch welding is the proper term, but I stitch welded it all along the edge there. Hit that seam, ground it down pretty good. It's not perfect. You might see a little deflection, but
once everything's powder coated the same color, it'll blend in better. Now, mind you, powder coat does not hide grind marks, weld marks, gouges, or anything like that, like a lot of people think it does. I mean, you'll probably, unless they sandblast this, end up seeing some of that in the actual, some of those grinder marks right there once this thing's powder coated. Now, these aren't drive-on fenders, and I quickly learned
that the little like 3/4 by 3/4 material I was using to build this entire thing out of.
I'll show you on the other side here.
I quickly learned this stuff was not strong enough on its own to keep the fenders from wanting to do this. So I took this 1.5 by 1.5 square tubing and welded it in there.
And I think that's actually how like most trailer manufacturers do it. I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. They're not drive-on fenders, but they are definitely walk-on fenders now, which is what I wanted. And I was kind of worried about when I started building that one and saw how like flexible it was. And I was like, dude, I'm just gonna cut this off and call it quits and delete the footage, and nobody's ever gonna know we attempted fenders. But I think we successfully have built some fenders here.
And we even got our first dent because I left the torch sitting right there and it put a little dent in it, but I think we can hammer that out from the backside.
We already know I'm totally overdoing this trailer. This is gonna be a ranch trailer that's gonna get used and abused and beat up. One of the main reasons I even decided to throw fenders on here is because we're probably gonna use like, you know, throw a bunch of trash and debris and trees and all kinds of stuff on here. I don't want them getting wrapped up in the wheels. I don't know, guys, it's late. I'm calling it quits. This video's over. I'm done. You guys are the best. Thanks for watching. Workforapparel.com. Something, subscribe, like. I need to go to bed. I don't really have that much time though. I gotta be up early in the morning. I chose this life. I don't get to complain. See you guys in the next video.
Damn. Yeah.